So Canopey is the home for buying better. We completely streamline the consumer journey to be able to shop sustainably. So we rigorously vet compliantly the claims of brands and their products, and then bring them into one central marketplace platform where you can learn, shop, and also track and measure your data. So through our impact calculator. So it lets individuals be able to access sustainable shopping in the same way that they access normal shopping without any of the barriers, and makes it much easier for everyone. I think be prepared for how long that it could take, and don't expect to be able to raise investment, not just quickly, but also from just initial conversations with someone. Angel investors are like normal people, surprisingly, where they also have emotions, they're idiosyncratic, and they would much rather build a relationship and understand who they're putting money behind, rather than necessarily just an idea. So it's not that we didn't know that, but I think that we probably could have nurtured that a bit longer before opening up the investment round, and then we probably would have closed the investment round quicker. So it was just, if we'd taken the time to plan and schedule that properly a bit more, then it would have been a much more efficient raise. Not to say that we didn't succeed, but it was much harder than it needed to be. So I think for any first-time founder, really what you can do, the three things that I sort of always recommend is build relationships with people. You don't know who they know, so get yourself out there, go to events, speak to people, make a LinkedIn profile, begin connecting, and begin building those relationships. Secondly, tied into that is to build a personal brand. So you need to be the authority in your space. Why would an investor back you over someone else who's going to try and solve the same problem? Because there will be others trying to solve the same problem. So if you can present yourself and your brand and your business brand as the one to back, the knowledgeable founder, but also the driven and experienced founder in the space, then you're much more likely to be able to convince people that you're backable. And then thirdly, be realistic with what you need to raise. Don't go too low. So if you need to raise more, that's fine, but justify it, and then make sure you've planned accordingly for it. 100%, actually. I think that almost all angels, the value is actually not just the capital, and a lot of that time, it's actually more valuable the other stuff. And that other stuff is really their expertise, their contacts, their specific sector knowledge. So they might not be related exactly to what you're doing, or have come directly from that exact same space. Although I would recommend sort of reaching out to people who have some sector knowledge of what you're doing. But anyway, those investors who have backed you want you to succeed because it's their money as well. They want the return. So they'll do anything they can to make sure that happens. And that means if you are struggling with, I don't know, finding the right hire, finding the next batch of investors, getting your platform tested accordingly, whatever it might be, your accountancy, really, literally anything you might be coming up against as a business owner, it's very, very likely that angel investors have the ability to assist with that, or at least put you in contact with someone who can and then assist with it. But the thing that a lot of founders miss with this is that you've got to keep them up to date then, and you've got to nurture that. You can't just take the money and then ignore them. So be absolutely scheduled and rigorous with keeping them updated on the company, the good and the bad and the ugly, because then that will allow them to step in and be like, well, I can help with that. And then you might be able to solve it overnight sometimes. So yeah, keeping them up to date, being open, and definitely asking for help where you can, because they can do it. Yeah, both actually. So we've had both grant funding and we've done crowdfunding as part of our last round, where we took angel investment as well. So it was all together. And so I'll tackle them both separately because they are a little bit different. Grant funding can be quite manually laborious. So filling out applications. My recommendation with that is that almost all applications have the same questions in them. They might be slightly changed a little bit. So if you can have a doc of generic answers for grant applications, then it's much easier to twist and mold them into the right application rather than starting from scratch. And then if you keep that master doc updated, then it actually is going to allow you to sort of never really need to sort of think too much on the spot with a grant application. The only other thing I'd say with grants is that they are very niche a lot of the time. It's quite hard to find very generalist. And if they are very generalist, then they're very, very competitive. So you either need to be really, really good at getting your proposition across in writing without your personality, right? You know, you've got a limited word count, and I really hate it, but but you need to, you know, it's a skill in itself. And we've had some support through that as well, through Innovate Edge, through the Innovation Grant Mentoring Project here in Norfolk, and then also from our advisors as well, who sit as Innovate assessors. So even with all of that advice, it's still quite hard for a grant application. On the flip side of that, the crowdfunding aspect, I think it's an absolutely brilliant tool for bringing your community into your company as one line on the cap table, so it doesn't become too messy. But it also is a really good way of engaging them, and they become your biggest fans because they are also vested into your company then, not just because of the emotion, but because they put money into it. And again, that comes with lots of benefits, as with any other angel investor. But also, it's going to mean that you can potentially exponentially grow your customer base because they will shout about it more than maybe your average angel investor would. So that's one bonus of it. However, there are many, many challenges with crowdfunding. Don't do it too early. So we did it pre-revenue, pre-product, and it was really hard. So we're really proud that we've got like 350 people for a crowdfunder. But, you know, it's really difficult to engage people who don't know you already when you're not showing them anything other than like a really pretty pitch, right? A pitch deck or a video. And it's the same with angel investors, but with angel investors, you can nurture that a bit more. So you can have one-on-one meetings, you can show them the MVPs. With a crowdfunding platform, your pitch is up there and that's it, right? Like, so then you've just got to hope and you've got to put the marketing in. It takes a lot of time. So I think, yeah, crowdfunding is a really good way to engage your community, but probably better to be done when you have a pretty large community there who know and use your platform, because then it's much easier for them to buy in on it because they're using it, where you don't have to sort of do the hard sell. Just prep, like just be super prepared for it, and also I think it's for most founders, I would have said, be prepared for the amount of no's you're going to get. You know, for every 100 investors you reach out to, you know, 30 of them might reply to you, 10 of them might get on a meeting with you, and one of them might invest. And I'm sure there are actual statistics for that, but it is really brutal. So I think, you know, be prepared for the long haul. Which again comes back to prepping and time. And actually, you're going to have a higher conversion rate if you've done that prep in advance, and you can basically answer the questions, you know, have your data room ready, all of these things. For us, though, I think the one thing I wish I'd known was how far a warm intro goes. Everyone will tell you that we don't live in a world of warm intros anymore, and I appreciate the sentiment. But it's not true. And as someone who didn't come from a world of people in that world, it's something you really need to prepare and be ready for. So just going out there is great and good luck to you. But it's really hard. Whereas if you can spend a bit more time, and I think I wish I had done this a bit more, spend maybe 6 months just integrating yourself into the investor and VC community, and actually not even pitching them, just learning from them, not even talking about the company necessarily, but maybe just talking about your experience, your background, and just getting to know them. Then when you come to the point where you're going, we're thinking about raising, or we're opening an investment round, suddenly you've got, you know, 50, 100 people who have a black book of investors, and your life then becomes so much easier. So that's what we do now, is in the build up to our seed round in a year's time, we're already taking VCs out for coffees and we're already speaking and sitting down with them and just saying, look, you've seen us around, we're not raising right now, but I'd love to talk to you. And it's just a good way to get your foot in the door if you don't come from that world, which a lot of founders don't.